Hi, everyone. I'm Katherine Longhi, the Director of Communication at GIFU, the Global Institute for Evolving Women. And I am so excited to be here with Marie Soprovich, a conscious business leader from Canada, a member of GIFU, and a world-renowned renovations specialist, and so many more teacher, activist. Like I can put so many more. You're like a Renaissance woman, Marie. For me, you're like a Renaissance woman. So this evening or this morning or this afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're in here in our Global GIFU committee, I'll be asking Marie what's on the top of my mind in terms of what it takes to be a conscious business leader. And when we were creating this together, Marie, the thing that I instantly, like the word I always comes first to mind whenever I'm speaking to you, whenever you're sharing your story with me, is courage. It's like, I think Marie and I think courage. It's like the first thing I think of when I think of you. And also, one of my favorite expressions that you always say to me whenever I'm confronted or dealing with something or pushing through a particular challenge, you always say, Katherine, stay brave. So, why don't you start by sharing a little bit more about yourself and how courage has come to be such a central component to who you are and how you operate?
Well, thanks, Catherine, and hello, everyone who's out there watching. It's a real honor and a delight to be here and to explore some of these ideas with you. Certainly, courage is a big deal in my life, and as it is in everyone's lives. The word I often sign off, stay brave, stay brave, because we all need to stay brave. Life is not for the weak of heart, and certainly business of any sort is also not for the weak, the faint of heart. So we get in there and we play a big game. One of my favorite quotes in life is Marianne Williamson's, where she really reminds us that we serve no one by playing small. So getting in and making the most out of whatever life brings to us requires a lot of courage. I've certainly had the opportunity to look fear in the face many times. It doesn't seem to go away, and working through it takes courage. So in my business experience, I truly was educated and have a master's in education, and was in the teaching world. Many of you sort of know the story of how did my husband and I, how did we face a cancer diagnosis in the family, and how did we find our courage to be the best example we could of how we walked through that experience and where it took us to. And then the decision that I truly made to take the family business, Doug and my family business, to the next level, to keep it going forward. So it took a lot of courage to let go of one world and step into another. And with courage and the support of many other people who are willing to be brave together, we can really make anything happen, truly. So courage is about staying brave, facing our fears, and doing it anyhow. As a little kid, I remember a high diving board experience. And I often think about being brave as that high diving board experience. You know you're not going to die, and yet you're at the top of the ladder, and I'm not going to go back down. I'm going to jump, so I have to throw myself off the high diving board to have that experience. It sometimes feels like that. So staying brave, I think we encourage one another to just stay brave and to live out the dream, the purpose of why we're here, and to explore that. So that's what staying brave really.
I love that, Marie. You just reminded me. I can't believe I ever did this, but when I was about 10, I jumped off a high diving board, and I actually over rotated and felt flat on my back. And I had these big bruises up and down my legs for weeks. But actually, what I can't believe that I did now that I'm a quote unquote grown up is that I climbed back up and actually dove again in that same, like, 5 minutes later or something. And now looking back, I can't believe I had that. Like, I can't believe that I could just that I could do that. But I guess when you're a child, it's a little bit, you don't have as many, you haven't made as many mistakes, or you haven't had as many painful experiences. So you kind of don't know that, like, you kind of think it's not a big deal. And I'm curious, in your life, and all of the challenging, the cancer diagnosis, taking over the family, stepping into a role in the family business that you hadn't envisioned for yourself. Can you share with us one of your like scariest high dive moments, and what it was, what you had to overcome to jump off that board again?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the first things was to realize that everybody deserves the opportunity to fail. So to be brave enough to say, this could work and this might not work. We'll never know unless we give it our best shot. So stepping into that takes a lot of courage to just know, okay, we'll give it our best shot. So there are, like in any business, there are many, many variables that make a business successful and can really challenge a business, any business. Some are within your control and some are not within your control. Do I have one particular thing? Was about not giving up. So and it was 7 years now that I've been running the company. And this winter, I came to a realization that I also needed to take another high diving board act and look at what's next for my business, and to actually consider either shutting it down due to reasons that were beyond my control, economics and things like that. And that we hadn't really downsized like we should have, given that this part of the world is in a recession, to actually selling the business and finding someone who had what I see as very, very similar values, and would be able to take the baby of the business and grow it further. So that took a lot of high diving board moments, and I'm really grateful for having had that opportunity to work through that. So this is me being brave to just say, let's give this a try, because we've got another next journey with the company, and I'm really truly grateful for that. Learned so many things about being a leader, and in hindsight, there's things that I maybe could have had more courage to take action on, and there are a lot of things that all of us really did take action on, and we created an amazing award-winning renovation company that's won accolades across the country, and certainly have had our fair share of publications around the growth of the business and what we did and what we contributed to, and so I'm excited and very grateful for that legacy, and it continues.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I'm so grateful and honored to be on this transformational journey with you. I remember when you were really digging deep into, like, you were really, really soul searching. Like, what are the factors, particularly late last year, like, from the, winning all of these awards and having, great commercial success. And then being in a situation where you're like, how did this is not how did this happen, with all these external factors? And I just remember, like, my heart really going out to you in your own, like, personal struggle to process what was happening, and to find courage, to find the courage within yourself to keep going. But what I felt like, being an observer and being with you in that moment, was like the courage that you were inspiring in others. Because I can tell how much you love people, how much you love the employees, how much, you loved the vision and values of this beautiful organization that you had created. And there's a question I would love to ask you that comes from the women watching on Facebook Live. Do you think that courage is something that comes natural to you, or do you think it's something you've cultivated yourself, like a skill that you can learn? Like, how much is innate and how much do you think is something that you can learn and develop in yourself?
Yeah, well, I think some of it is very much innate. So whether I wasn't really a daredevil as a child, but push the edges on certain things and being willing to take some risk. So certainly grew up in a family where risk taking was okay to a certain level, and push those boundaries certainly. So I think it's a decision that we can make to face the fear and do it anyhow, to just do it, just get in the game. And you know, there's lots of affirmations and support from other friends, but that to actually do something that you believe is the right thing to do, and this is me being brave, is something that we need to recognize within ourselves. And when we do that, we can push through those things that would normally terrify us. So whether it's public speaking, or taking a stand on something, or making a decision that is a hard decision to make, having conversations that are really uncomfortable, whatever those things are, you can acknowledge. And I do that for myself, and I often will say, this is me being brave, in case anybody doesn't know that I'm being brave right now. And I think we can all cultivate that. Sometimes it might be as simple as, you know, if you haven't worn a hat and you want to wear a hat into a party or go somewhere, putting a hat on might be something that, this is me being brave. So things like that take us out of our normal comfort zone into a place that actually causes us to grow and experience something that's a little bit bigger. So I think courage can be cultivated. Absolutely, it should be. And when we can acknowledge someone else, like, this is you being brave, we all become a little bit brighter in the light that we can shine, and in getting the things that we really want to create in our lives to actually manifest.
Yeah. That is brilliant. And I just want to shift now to the link between courage and consciousness, and then conscious business. Because what you've reminded me of is something that Richard Barrett was saying on his webinar with Bea about the evolutionary woman. And that having, you know, one of the most challenging things for women, which is apparently very easy in men, is having courageous conversation. And actually, our role as women in evolution, like, is to actually overcome this, you know, having the conscious conversation, having the courageous conversations. And actually, it's one of the biggest services that we can do, not only to ourselves, but for humanity. And I'm curious, you know, how you relate courage and consciousness together, and like what you see is the link, if any.
Mm-hmm. Well, I watched that conversation between Bea and Richard Barrett a couple of times, because I found it absolutely fascinating. And he really nailed it when he said, women don't ask for what they want. That is so difficult for us to actually verbalize what we want. And we might know it at a level, and I think sometimes it's even hard for us to articulate it to ourselves on the inside. That is something that we really need to work on, because when we become clear about that, when we put it out there, the likelihood of it happening, or us being able to create that, is real. So it takes courage to ask for what you want, to even know that there's deserving, and that we're enough, and that we have what it takes to demonstrate and manifest that, and that we are deserving. So it's something that I work through still on a pretty regular basis, to get clear about what is it that I really want, and to dream, and to know that that dreams are so important, and we need to give ourselves permission to dream. And that's kind of where I'm at again, is like, permission to dream again. So where do we go next? How do we take this, certainly with the business, you know, with the company for a couple of years, to really make sure the baby lands on his feet, and connect to the business community that I've become very comfortable and familiar with. And then what's next? So how do we integrate that? It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
And now that you're giving yourself that permission, like, what are your early new dreams for yourself, for the world of conscious business, and, you know, the impact that you want to make in that space? Like, what are the early new dreams percolating?
Well, conversations like this are a big part of it. So conscious business, kind of a term, it's out there. It means lots of things to lots of people. Understanding what does that look like here? What does it look like there? How can we grow to become more conscious human beings? I am really excited about reconnecting in a deeper way with the work that the Global Institute for Evolving Women are all about. I talk about it with my friends and the business associates who will listen to me at every available opportunity. And I think we're onto something. So the transformation of humanity through the aligned power of extraordinary and evolving women is a big deal. So how do we knit that circle a little tighter and a little larger? So those are the kinds of things. That's one of the things that I'm really passionate about. Other things is staying involved with the business community, looking for ways to contribute, in particular to family-owned businesses that might be going through transition, on boards that really might have similar kinds of challenges that I've gone through in my own business, and places where I can make a difference. So I'm open to some possibilities and I'm pretty excited about.
Amazing. And I just have to share one comment that came in from the Facebook Live. So after watching the Richard Barrett interview with Bea, one woman has taken on having one courageous conversation a day. So imagine, Marie, like imagine if, you know, all of the women you're connected with, you know, if all of the women in our JIFU community, if all of the women, you know, beyond, like all the women we can contemplate, had one courageous conversation a day. Like imagine if we all took this on.
Yeah.
Like, what do you see as possible if we just all took that on together in life, in business, in, you know, in the world?
Our presence would have a bigger impact than we can possibly imagine. And we need to start imagining that. Yes. I think the world is our space. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So it's like, okay, we need to just show up in our best and in our imperfection too. So we don't always get it right. We give it our best shot, get back in the game, pick it up, dust it off. Where do we go next? We really can inspire one another, and not just women, but also men. I think there's tremendous value. We've got a lot to contribute. So we need to be brave and show up and speak what is in our truth and in our hearts, and ask for what we want and not be shy about it. There's a sense of, I have value and I bring my value and I am looking to contribute. So listen to me sometimes.
Yeah, I love that. And just 1 to 2 more questions before we wrap up. I know you've done a lot of, you know, inner developmental, spiritual, transformational work on yourself. Like I know you as a woman really committed to her own development. Inside of all of the JIFU education that you've done, and we were on the Vortex program, like we were side by side, like in the thick of it together last year. What has been your greatest piece of transformation, or what aspect of your feminine leadership, you know, have you unlocked through JIFU education that's made like the biggest difference to how you operate and the impact that you make and what's important to you?
You know, I think one of the things that really created one of the bigger impacts is the work we did with jazz. And that was in regards to the social vitamins and how much, what we need to give, where do we need to be challenged, how do we support one another, and what does that look like on a daily basis. So that was really quite a powerful way to build community. We are so much stronger in community. We need each other's backs. We need to be able to ask for what we want, support somebody in what they need, and then move forward for that. That was huge. The other really big things were when we were working together on the summit, where we actually had the opportunity to pick an area that was really our passion. So for me, it was about conscious business, and to interview incredible leaders from around the world who are living the the conscious business model in their worlds. So that was powerful, getting to know amazing women, traveling, the adventure, the support, just so many things. It's really so important to come together in community.
Wonderful. I love you shared my two favorites as well. And the social vitamins piece has really been one of the biggest, like when I think of our GIFU community, and I couldn't imagine, say, even 18 months ago, like my community was really like through my one-to-one relationships with women in our community. And now today, the energy field that we've created, that like on a daily basis, I'm so connected with all the women around the world in like different ways, whether it's through, the conscious business platform, because, women in business and I have the same, the same interest in making an impact in business, whether it's, meeting up. I happen to be in the UK, you're in Canada, we might physically meet up somewhere, but that we're not just supporting and empowering, we're also challenging and facilitating reflection, to like just as important as support, which isn't like a resource that I was aware would really serve me. So I love that you shared that, because I think that's really, really unique to our community. And to, to all of the women, out there, what is your, what's one piece of wisdom or like one nugget you want to leave the women in our community, your wisdom, one last Marie-ism that you'd like to share with all of us today to complete?
Well, it truly is to stay brave. When we stay brave, we will play a bigger game, and our impact will have a far wider reach, and we'll feel better because we're contributing in a way that really is bringing our highest and greatest good to the world around us and to ourselves, and honoring ourselves. So stay brave.
That is the best piece. That is the best piece of wisdom and advice. I love that. So thank you, Marie, for continuing to beat the drum of courage and bravery, and really leading our community with your feminine leadership, from the front. Like, you're such a ray of optimism and hope. And I think Marion, you mentioned Marianne Williamson earlier, in terms of her quote, and that shining a light, you are the light that shines in every little crook and cranny of darkness. So thank you so much for being you, and for being the contribution that you make. Thank all of the evolving, amazing, extraordinary women who are watching this. If you like, hearing from Marie and what we've talked about tonight, and you like to see other, topics, other Facebook Lives in this group, like, please let us know. We want to put together and give you great content that's really gonna enable, empower, and support you in your own journeys. If you want to get even more, if you'd like to actually have more live connection than just on this Facebook Live, join our membership platform, where we have these kinds of conversations a couple times a month, in our community of women. So please, I'll post that in the comments after this is done. And yeah, thanks again, Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Yes, thank you.